Hey, rock stars. If you've been on the entrepreneurship journey for a while, you know this feeling. In all the interviews, in all the coaching calls, one truth kept coming up over and over again. Leadership is lonely. Business development is lonely. And entrepreneurship is lonely. You can't just talk to anyone about it. That's why I created the Catalyst Club, a private, values-driven community where you can speak the truth, be your authentic self, and connect with people who understand what you're going through and can actually help. We made it private so you feel safe. We made it affordable so no one gets left out. And we built it on values that matter, like showing up, sharing knowledge, and choosing growth over ego. Inside, you'll find coffee with rock stars for real talk and connection, unplugged Q&A for live coaching and clarity, and Catalyst sessions with world-class experts who light a fire under your next move. We're building the most supportive business community on the internet, and we want you to help us do it. Join us today at kellykennedyofficial.com. We're just getting started.
We work with hundreds of startups a year, helping them see where AI can be applied to their business. A lot of those startups are coming to us not knowing where to start even. They don't know where AI can be applied to their business. They don't know how it can look or what the different options are. And we're helping them identify those opportunities within their own business.
The great Mark Cuban once said, "Business happens over years and years. Value is measured in the total upside of a business relationship, not by how much you squeezed out in any one deal." And we couldn't agree more. This is the Business Development Podcast, based in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and broadcasting to the world. You'll get expert business development advice, tips and experiences, and you'll hear interviews with business owners, CEOs, and business development reps. You'll get actionable advice on how to grow business. Brought to you by Capital Business Development, capitalbd.ca. Let's do it. Welcome to the Business Development Podcast. And now your expert host, Kelly Kennedy.
Hello, welcome to episode 314 of the Business Development Podcast. And today, it is my absolute pleasure to bring you Adam Danyleyko. Adam is a dynamic leader and passionate advocate for the growth and success of startups in Alberta and beyond. As the product owner of startups at AMII, Adam leads the charge in helping early-stage companies explore, build, and deploy machine learning and AI technologies. With a rich background that spans leadership roles at Startup Edmonton and over 4 years in strategic positions with the government of Alberta, Adam's experience positions him at the forefront of fostering innovation and growth in the tech ecosystem. His leadership has directly impacted dozens of startups, scaling their ML adoption and ensuring they have the tools and support necessary to succeed. Driven by passion for community engagement and technological innovation, Adam's impact goes beyond the office. His expertise in AI and machine learning has empowered countless startups to unlock the potential of these technologies, helping them scale and transform industries. With a sharp focus on guiding companies through the complexities of ML adoption, Adam ensures that each startup is equipped to leverage cutting-edge solutions that drive real-world impact. If you're ready to take your startup to the next level with AI, Adam is the leader who will help you harness its full potential. Adam, once again, it's a pleasure to have you on the Business Development Podcast.
Yeah, great to be here. Thanks so much for having me again.
If this was Mortal Kombat, we would be yelling, "Round 2, fight."
I love it. Yeah.
Man, I owe you such a big apology. The first time we did this show, guys, was literally recorded probably like 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell I was thinking that day, but somehow my audio, like my levels got put too high and I sounded like I was underwater. I completely blew out my entire audio track. Adam sounded incredible and I sounded silly.
Well, I'm glad we're able to finally get back in the studio and chat again.
I'm really happy to have you back, man. And I'm really excited for this conversation because the first time was really epic. So the second time, it's going to be even more.
Oh, well, I hope I can live up to the expectations of, of our first conversation.
No kidding. No kidding. Well, this is really important to me because, when I started the business development podcast, one of the things I really wanted to do was shine a big bright light on Alberta and Edmonton in particular and
Yeah.
Calgary doing some pretty incredible things. But I wanted to do something called the Alberta Ecosystem Series because what I realized pretty early on doing this show was the startup ecosystem in Alberta is pretty incredible. But like the amount of things going on is almost like hard to fathom. There's just so many different things going on, whether you're talking about, Alberta Innovates, Prairies Can, Edmonton Global, Edmonton Unlimited, Startup TNT, there's BDC Canada, there's like a million things out here to help us, which is great, but it's really hard to understand the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing about AMII pretty early on that you guys were doing some pretty incredible things with AI. But I was like, oh my gosh, okay, one more thing we got to just add to the list because it's like hard to understand how it all fits together. So we are going to do that today. By the end of this show, people are going to understand what AMII is and how the heck they can utilize it. But before we do that, dude, you work in one of the coolest tech sector industries there is. How did you end up on this path, man? Like, who is Adam Danyleyko?
Yeah, it's kind of wild to think about the fact that this is where I've ended up. I actually have my bachelor's degree is in human resources from the U of A here in Edmonton. So started out in human resources. And like you mentioned, I worked at the government of Alberta here for a few years in a variety of different roles. I started in HR, so I was actually an HR business partner. And then I moved into some policy work, supporting the climate technology task force, ran a cross-government internship program for the government, kind of my last role there. That's kind of how I got into kind of the student engagement side of my work. And then that's what led me to Startup Edmonton. So from there, I moved over to Startup Edmonton, where I led out their student engagement work, and I built a team around that. And from Startup Edmonton, that's really how I got into the tech ecosystem, right? Like meeting startup founders across the city, really being engaged with that community, and really fell in love with the community there, seeing everything that these amazing founders and other developers are building here in the city of Edmonton. And then this opportunity at AMII came up to come over and build out the startup team here at AMII. So being able to come and leverage my experience with the startup community in Edmonton to know what founders needed and what kind of supports were required for founders to come here and build out, to look at the AMII programming and see, what was working for startups, what wasn't working, what could be modified, what do we have to build from scratch in order to see how can we support startup founders, not just here in Edmonton now, but across the province of Alberta, across Canada and internationally. You see them. How can we support startup founders better along their AI journey? And so that's kind of Cole's Notes journey of how I got into my role here.
It's super, super cool. And, I feel like on a certain level, and I know this isn't true, but to me, it felt like AI just came out of nowhere, man. And you know what? Like, I don't know, maybe I just didn't have my ear to the ground. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention, right? But it felt like 2023 hit and there was like before ChatGPT and then after ChatGPT. Like you'll literally, someday someone will draw a giant line in the sand and say, this is where everything changed, right?
Yeah. Oh, I think that's super fair to, for the average person. I think that's accurate. I think when we started seeing ChatGPT was probably one of the first tools that hit the everyday person, and it was also doing something that for a long time seemed to be well within only the realm of humans.
Yeah.
And it was now putting out text and words, and it was responding to questions in a way that, there's been chatbots for a long time. They haven't been very good, right? It's been like asking a very specific question, you get a pre-generated answer back. And it was just kind of keywords back and forth. Now you're getting intelligent answers back when you ask it a question. It's able to do a lot more than just answer your standard 10 FAQ questions.
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty fair. I think though that what's interesting is from AMII's perspective, we've been doing this for over 20 years, coming up on 30 years now. The province of Alberta invested heavily into AI back in the 90s. And now that's what led to the creation of AMII. And where we're at today is it's been around, and it's been something that the U of A has been doing for 20 to 30 years.
Wow.
And if you think about like AI as a field stems back to the 50s.
Yeah.
Computer science goes back even farther. So this is a field of study that's been around for a long time, but now it's finally breaking into kind of the everyday of most people's lives in a way that you can see and you can interact with.
Yeah.
That's obviously AI. Because even, AI and machine learning has been a part of our lives for a long time. We
Yeah.
just didn't recognize that that's what it was, or the average person maybe wasn't recognizing that they're interacting with AI. Whereas when you see ChatGPT, it's like, it's obvious that this is an AI that I'm interacting with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy because, like, dude, even when I started this show, like the very first episode, I think I actually learned about ChatGPT only about 20 episodes into the business development podcast. So it's like,
Nice.
literally, I've been using AI for less time than I've been doing podcasting for, which feels a little bit like unbelievable because now we utilize it so heavy in literally
Mhm.
everything from like idea planning to post creation to content creation to running ideas to fact checking. Like, there's 1,000 things that we use AI for that, like, in the very beginning, I didn't use it at all. So it does feel like 2023 was just this like light switch. It's like, oh, it's here. Use it.
Totally. And it's like, it'd be interesting to hear your perspective on that, because it's like, were those tasks that you're now using AI for tasks that you were doing a different way
Yeah.
previously, or were they things that you just weren't doing at all, or both?
Yeah, I would say both, actually. So they're like, honestly, what AI has enabled me to do is essentially run a podcast on my own, right? Like, I can do a full show production, what
Yeah.
would have required an entire team before. And you know what? I've had to tweak it along the way. I've had to find ways to insert myself back into it because I don't like to use completely AI generated content. I
Yeah.
like have some Kelly in there too.
Yeah.
The cool thing about ChatGPT is it learns who Kelly is too, right?
Yeah.
I feed enough of my information into it and say, okay, this is me, this is how I write, this is how I talk. It's pretty incredible what it'll come up with just from that data.
Yeah. 100%.
But yeah, like in the beginning, absolutely. I was writing everything. I was writing my episode descriptions. I was writing all of, like everything.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe like how much time savings AI has really put back in my pocket. Not just time savings, but like level up savings, right? Like, it's not
Totally.
just time savings. It's like a massive level up in my ability to perform work. And I'm one example, right? I'm a podcast. I'm one example, but I can't imagine what if you scale that out, how big of an impact that is going to have on enterprise and business as a whole around the world.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's kind of where we see AI working the best, is like in those situations where it can make humans better at what they do. And that's kind of the sweet spot, I think, in a lot of ways, is how can we level people up? How can we take people that are already doing something and make them more efficient with their time, take
Yeah.
away those kind of tasks that they don't like doing in the first place, or might take up a lot of their time, might be boring or repetitive, but might also at the same time require like a lot of accuracy. And
Yeah.
that's a perfect place where AI can come in, is like, it's going to be accurate. Like, it doesn't get tired. It doesn't need a coffee break. It doesn't need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not having those kind of human ebbs and flows of attention. Yet at the same time, it's able to work all the time. So it's able to maintain that consistent level of output, which I think is really helpful to reduce those kind of menial parts of a lot of people's jobs, and level them up in a way that allows them to be more effective, more strategic, more impactful with it.
Yeah, well, and I would say too, like the upgrades that I'm noticing with ChatGPT are like they're pretty massive, man. Like, they aren't just like little leaps as they upgrade these models. When they put out a new model like 4.0, like for instance, this is coming out in February of 26. So like, who knows where we're at a year from today? But I know as of right now with model 4.0 with ChatGPT, it's pretty friggin' incredible. Like, I find myself at night, man, sometimes just having like full on conversations with ChatGPT. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy that that's where we've got. But like, it's fun. It's fun to have those conversations with ChatGPT.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's pretty smart, and it's really cool how it works kind of under the hood, and the fact that you can have like a real proper conversation with something that doesn't really exist in a weird way. Like, it exists, but it's like you can have a conversation with it like you're talking to a person, but it's not a person. Yeah.
It's crazy though, because like I'll just be like bouncing business ideas off of it. I'll be bouncing like naming ideas or like show ideas or topics, or like just asking it to search shit on the internet. And it's like, it's pretty friggin' incredible. And I think about the fact that like at this point, we're talking maybe 2 years later, to the very first time that I experienced utilizing a machine learning or a chat GPT to where we are today. And I just think, holy crap, man, where are we going to be 5 years from now?
Yeah,
Unreal. Unreal.
totally. Yeah, no, I agree. It feels like it's changing exponentially. And even working in the field, working with scientists every single day, working on projects with clients every single day, it's still hard to keep up.
Wow. Yeah, I bet. I bet. So take me into AMII. You
Yeah.
mentioned that AMII's been doing this stuff for 20 years. Like, my gosh, my head has just been in the sand. Like, how did you guys keep this stuff under wraps for that long?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I guess AMII, as we currently exist, has only been around since about 2018.
Okay.
But the U of A's AI department has been looking into AI machine learning for that kind of 20 to 25 to 30 year mark. And so it's really been on the research side for a majority of those 30 years. And still a majority of what we do is on the research side. So
Wow.
we have research chairs and fellows that we fund at the University of Alberta. These are world leading researchers, like top of the world researchers in AI machine learning. The U of A has actually historically been ranked in the top five, it's number
Wow.
3, number 4 for AI and machine learning research internationally of all universities in the world.
Wow.
And so it's a real foundation of what we do here is the research side. And it still is to this day. So we're actually in the middle of growing our researcher pool. I think we're around, by the time this podcast comes out, it might even be up to like 60 researchers,
Wow.
cross campus researchers studying AI, machine learning, everything from applied to really theoretical research as well. And Dr. Richard Sutton is our chief science advisor and was one of the first researchers that was recruited to the U of A during that time.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of the founder. He is the founder of reinforcement learning, one of the 3 major studies of machine learning. And he literally wrote the textbook on it. And we have him at the
Wow.
U of A. He's at AMII. I said he's our chief science advisor. So, we're very lucky to have someone like him as a part of our organization, and then all the researchers that have come with him and come after that as well. They've really built out that side of our business. And then now we're at the not-for-profit. We're able to leverage all this research, this community of students and researchers that we have to support industry. And so that's really what AMII as an organization does is we fund that research and then we work with industry to help translate that research into industry adoption. So we work with everything from startups to mom and pops to national corporations, not-for-profits, multinationals, help them along their AI journey. Everything
Yeah.
from training, like what is AI machine learning at kind of that foundational level, that basic knowledge, and building a common nomenclature at your organization around AI, all the way through to advanced certificates in AI machine learning. We can help companies identify where AI can be applied to their business,
Yeah.
scope that out to build that roadmap on how can you actually go about building and implementing that solution, to doing the hands-on ML proof of concept development for our clients. We support along that whole journey. So it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of things happening and kind of going on all at once. But that's kind of maybe like the super quick Coles Notes. Happy to dive in on any of those other pieces as well. But that's kind of the really high level idea of what we do. But maybe one more thing I'd say is I think something that's really, really good about AMII and something that really aligns with me personally is our mission is AI for good and for all.
Mhm.
So and that's really at the core of everything that we do is that for good and for all. When we're bringing on clients, we actually put them through a principled AI rubric that's based on the UN Sustainable Development Goals to see, is this a project that we can and should be working on? So we take it very seriously, and we're very conscious of the impact that any of our work will have on people, on the planet,
Yeah.
on kind of everything that all the important things. Like we're very conscious of bias and insights and fairness and the impact of our work as it relates to everything that we do as well.
Well, it's very interesting because I don't think many people are thinking about how powerful AI is, right? Like, it's amazing. And I think you guys are doing it right. By starting out with a set of ethical guidelines to work from, you're kind of setting the tone for how we're
Yeah.
going to approach AI moving forward. And I think that you're absolutely right. That's super important because when you have this much knowledge in one place, right? knowledge can be used for whatever you want to use it for, good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Like,
for sure.
it's interesting. I'm sure not since the advent of nuclear energy has somebody had to create an ethics guide for how we were going to utilize a tool.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's really fair. I think that's probably an interesting parallel for sure. But I think at the end of the day, like AI, like you said, it's a tool. AI is a tool. Building tools is what we do as humans.
Yeah.
And every tool can be used for a multitude of applications. Like you can use a hammer to hammer a nail or to break a window.
Yeah.
The hammer is just a hammer, but this is how you use it. And I think that it's really important though within that to have that ethical framework. And like I said, we call it our principled AI framework in order to make sure that you're taking into consideration the impact of the tool that you're building and using. It applies to both how we use AI internally,
Yeah.
but also how we build the AI that we do for our clients.
Amazing. Amazing. Lead us into machine learning, right? Most of us just see ChatGPT and we ask a question. We're like, how in the world is this thing doing this? For a lot of our listeners, AI is like magic, me included,
Right.
man. Like, it looks like magic. It's like, how does this thing know to answer this so accurately for me and create? I know you're not the technical scientist on this, but,
Yeah.
please do your best. What is AI? What truly is machine learning? What's happening?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when you think about it, kind of taking even a step back, computer science is a field of study that's been around since like the 1800s, maybe even earlier. I don't know. I mean, some monks started thinking about this like hundreds of years ago. And then within computer science, there's AI, artificial intelligence. And that is the study of making computers r- replicate the way humans think, is
Okay.
essentially what it is. Often using algorithms or models, might be different ways to think about that. But essentially, an algorithm is a math equation that is trying to mimic the way a human thinks.
Okay.
Machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence, and machine learning is building computer systems that learn over time and get better and improve over time. Some really common ways that applications, like I guess within machine learning, there's three major areas. There's supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. Those are the three areas. Like I mentioned, Dr. Richard Sutton at AMII was kind of the pioneer of reinforcement learning,
Yeah.
which is where the system or an agent is in a dynamic environment and makes decisions and then learns from those decisions. So that like often you might see like an agent playing a video game and you put it in the video game, it doesn't know the rules, it takes actions, it gets rewards or punishments, and then it learns slowly over time how to play the game.
Yeah.
Kind of like in a lot of ways, people like to think about that as like, how would a child learn? It's learning by trying and getting feedback from the world.
Yeah.
Supervised learning is you have data, it has labels, you train your system on that, and then so for example, you have a bunch of pictures of cats, you have a bunch of pictures of dogs. You tell the system this is a cat, this is a dog, and then you give it a new picture, and it has to say, is this a cat or a dog?
Yeah.
That's a very simple version of it, but it's essentially training based on data that's labeled. And then unsupervised learning is where you give the system data, there's no labels, and it is either looking for outliers or clusters. And so this is, and a common application of this is your like Netflix algorithm where
Yeah.
it's recommending things to you. It's saying, hey, based on you and everything you've watched, you're similar to these other people. And they also watched this show that you haven't watched. So because you're similar to these people, you'll probably like this show.
Yeah.
Like so clustering or outliers, which is like fraud detection in credit cards, is fraud detection. It's saying, I don't know anything about any of this, but this looks different from all the other ones. So that might be fraud. But that's kind of machine learning at the most basic level. It's like, and then over time, the more you train, the more different examples the system is seeing, the better it's going to get over time. And accuracy, speed, performance are all going to be things that we're looking to over time.
It's incredible when you think about it. Like, I honestly can't fathom how much computing power has to be going in on the background simply to answer one of my random ChatGPT questions, right? Like, I could ask just about anything on planet Earth, and ChatGPT is going to search the internet and find me an answer. And not just find me an answer, but write it to me in exactly the way I need it to write it to me based on the way that I asked the question. how is this even possible? How big, like, is there like a gigantic computer the size of a city somewhere processing this information? Like, how is
I
this
mean,
even
yeah, kind of. Like, I mean, so there's data centers all over the world that have been being built for a long time. So when you think about the cloud, it's just data centers in different places around the world. So Google, Amazon, Microsoft, there's countless different other companies that all manage data centers that are used for not only storage, but for computing capabilities as well. So yeah, like maybe not all in one city, like a city size block, but it's like a distributed network around the world of essentially supercomputers that are all doing these calculations. Yeah, and supporting it around the world. And it's, yeah, like the large language model type system. So I guess, like, I described three discrete types of machine learning. Large language models are using a combination of all three of them
Okay.
within that in order to actually do what they're doing. But they've ingested, like, ChatGPT essentially is trained on the internet.
Okay.
So it's like, it's trained on all this data about everything. And what's really interesting is ChatGPT doesn't really know anything. Like, it sounds like it knows things when you're talking to it, but essentially what it's doing is it's predicting the most likely thing to say back to you based
Oh,
on
wow.
what you said. So it doesn't, like, when you ask it, like, I don't know, like, how many cows are there in the world? Like, it doesn't know what a cow is. Like,
Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, like, it's all using ones and zeros in a very
Yeah.
fundamental way. Like, if you want to break it super down, and it's predicting what the most likely next character in the sentence is going to be,
Wow.
the next word is going to be. But it's very, very, very powerful because it's been trained on everything. So it's using the context of what you're asking, it's using the context of everything that it's been trained on to make those very pointed predictions within that.
Wow. So it actually is somewhat guessing, but it's guessing based on like a really educated experience, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
100%. That's exactly, yeah. Like, that's all machine learning at the end of the day is. Like, it's making predictions. And so whether that's a prediction on, will you like this movie based on the other movies you've watched, or will you buy this other item on Amazon because of everything else you've bought, or
Uh,
is this email spam or a promotion, or should it go in your inbox? It's just a prediction at the end of the day. That's really all it is. And what we do with that prediction is where it becomes powerful, right? Like, the prediction's great, but it's how do we as humans implement that prediction? What kind of judgments, decisions, actions are we taking based on that prediction from this AI system or machine learning system? That's kind of where the rubber's going to hit the road, and then where it becomes useful. Because a prediction for prediction's sake doesn't mean anything. It's how
yeah.
we use that prediction.
Quick pause here, and thank you for tuning in and supporting the show. I want to recognize Hyperfab, a Canadian precision fabrication company built by the team behind Hypervac Technologies, supporting projects in both Canada and the United States. They focus on high-quality sheet metal, fast turnaround, and solving complex fabrication challenges when it matters most. Hyperfab is proud to be our title sponsor for 2026. Thanks for listening. Let's get back to the show. Let's just take Amazon, for instance, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I buy something off Amazon, I immediately go down before I check out. It says people who bought this almost always buy these things with it. And dude, like 9 times out of 10, I'm like, yeah, I need that. I need that. It's so flippin' helpful. Like, honestly, as scary as maybe some people might find like the idea of like AI, it's just so flippin' helpful. Like, there's no two ways about it. Like Amazon, like, predicting the things that you might need if you're doing, a project. You might need that drill. Well, now you need drill bits. Now you need some extra batteries or whatever, right? Like, it just knows what I need. And I would say most of the time, I actually need that. And I really do add them to my cart and buy them.
Yeah. What's crazy is, like, I've actually heard, I don't know, this was a long time ago, so I don't know how accurate this still is, or if, there's something that they'd ever actually implement. But I heard at one point that Amazon was considering sending you things. Just be like, hey, we know you're going to need this. And
Yeah.
then either you being like, I actually don't want it, send it, but take it back. Or being like, oh, well, it's already here. So I'll just say, like, oh, like, you bought a drill. So it's like, they just send you drill bits. Or
Yeah.
they're just like, hey, you're probably out of toilet paper. So, like, here's some toilet paper. And then
Yeah.
if you accept it, then they bill you for it.
Wow.
Because they eventually, like, theoretically, at a certain point in time, they'll be so good at knowing when and what you'll need that
Yeah.
they could just send it to you knowing that you will need it by the time it gets to you.
That's
It's a little dystopian in a way, but like,
Yeah.
it can be pretty cool.
Dude, speaking of Amazon, I was driving in Leduc, I want to say like 6 or 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And a drone the size of a car flew over my head.
Oh, wow.
And turns out, I believe it's Drone Delivery Canada's drone. And the thing is like the size of a car, man. Like,
Oh, wow.
it blew me away. But obviously, they're testing it around that airport area. And I was just like, holy crap, this is the future. The future is here. There are flying cars.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I haven't seen that. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. But it won't be long in my mind until we have, if that exists, that only exists for a reason. That reason is it's going to be delivering shit from city to city, right? Like if you think of a drone the size of a car, its only purpose can either be to transport people or to transport things to another place, right? So in my mind, my thought is like pretty soon you'll be able to order something and Amazon will be able to ship it from Calgary to Edmonton on one of these little drone things in like no time flat, and that thing will be on your door within like 8 hours of you ordering it from like a completely different city.
Yeah, well, I mean, Amazon already in like major cities like New York and LA, they already have like 30-minute delivery on a lot of items. Like 30 minutes. You order it and it's in your house in half an hour. Like, I mean, in Edmonton, I think the fastest you're probably going to see is like maybe later that day or the next day. But like 30, like, I mean, if you have drones and like you have unfettered access, like, I don't see why like you couldn't have things delivered within an hour or two for most items.
Me and you are probably pretty close to the same age. I'm 36. How old are you?
Yeah, 32. I'll be 34 almost by the time this comes out.
I'll be 37 by the time. There you go. But dude, we remember. I mean, you're from the generation. You probably had N64. Did you have Sega?
No.
Okay.
I had friends that did though.
Okay. So Sega, like when I look back to being a kid, that was like the first video game system I had with Sega. And I love that, man. I love playing Sega. And if I think of like where we are today with regards to like computer generation, AI, dude, it's hard to believe when you came from like 32-bit Sega.
I know, right? Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Well, even just like thinking back, it's like what was the world that our grandparents grew up in? Like my mom grew up on a farm that they had to stack hay bales around the house in the wintertime to keep it warm.
Wow.
Like there were seven of them, and they lived in basically a 2-room house.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, so it's like, that's my mom. And to where like the world my kids are growing up in, it's like, it's completely different.
Well, it's weird because like I even look back to like, for instance, iPhone, right? Like I was already out of high school when iPhone came out. I remember thinking at the time, I was like, oh, that's cool, but it's like kind of gimmicky. And now it's changed absolutely everything, right? Like you can't even buy a non-video phone anymore, a non-screen phone, right? Like it's crazy how much the world has changed. And I just think sometimes, my kids are really little right now. My oldest is 11, youngest just is little over 1. And I just think of the world they're going to grow up in, man. Like, I'm not even going to be able to relate to that world. Like, it's just crazy how fast technology is advancing. And I think AI is only going to put like a gigantic, Mach 1 speed to how that's going to continue to evolve.
Yeah. Oh, of course. I have 2 little ones. I have a 2-year-old and a 2-month-old right now. So it's interesting. Like, I remember when we got our first computer. Like we had a computer in our house.
Yes,
it was in the computer room. And, and it loaded images about chunk, 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 chunk fast.
Yeah,
yeah. You couldn't use a phone while you were using it.
Yes, yes. You remember AOL when they would send you CDs for their internet? Yeah. Like it's crazy. It's crazy because obviously they were working on AI even at that time. Like that's hard to believe, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, it was very different AI than what's getting worked on today. But like even like some of the like there's lots of theoretical things that have been conceptually figured out decades ago that are only starting to be able to be made possible because of the ability to like the compute levels that are available today versus were available 20 years ago when those kind of theories were created or developed.
That's interesting. You know what? Obviously, computer technology and like you said, compute levels seem to be exponentially growing. Do you think that this is going to get even faster with the advent of AI?
I mean, I think so. I would say compute is what enables AI to exist. But I guess like in a way, like if you reverse engineer it, like you can potentially use AI to make better computers.
Yes.
So like that's something that a lot of people are working on, is like, how do we make better semiconductors using AI? How do we make things more efficient using AI for design within that space? So like, yeah, AI will help. And then it's a, self-perpetuating cycle. I think that's going to be a big piece, is like, how do we make better, more efficient compute? And that's why NVIDIA is, I don't know if they're still, as of today, the most valuable company in the world, but they have been for the last year or so, the
Yeah.
most valuable company in the entire world. And they make they make computers that process AI. And so whether it's that, or whether I think data is going to continue. I also think that with models being released, like DeepSeek just got released a couple weeks ago, and what it looks like is that they're able to have comparable, if not better, performance than ChatGPT for a fraction of the compute cost and compute
Wow.
resources needed. So, like, what does that look like as that kind of rolls out? Is like, how do models become more efficient? How do AI systems become more efficient so they don't need to use as much power? I think that's going to be a huge change too, and something that is constantly being pushed, because not everything that you might want AI to support has access to the internet. Imagine like if you were putting a sensor, or you were putting something at the bottom of the ocean, or on the moon,
Yeah.
or in the middle of the rainforest, or in the Arctic, or like just somewhere on if you're at an oil refinery that has a site that has limited cell reception. You might want to have a fall detection. Like if you're on an oil refinery, you might want to have like a fall detection system where it detects if somebody falls over or gets hurt, but you might not have internet access. So you need that system to be able to, you either need to then, in that case, set up your own server on site, or you need to have what's called edge computing, which is on device AI. And oftentimes those models are much smaller than you might build if you're using a big one, or you might have access to bigger compute resources. If you can get models smaller and smaller and smaller, more and more efficient, I think it opens up a whole new world of like where we can have these intelligent systems
Yeah.
around the world. It's not just going to be in your downtowns of the world. It can be anywhere.
That's amazing. And I want to spend a little bit of time on this particular subject with you, because all that I've really experienced as of like this date really has
Yeah.
been large language model AI, right? Like ChatGPT, a chat bot. We'll call it a chat bot.
Yeah.
What else is there? And how long until I can have just like a real conversation that sounds like another human chatting back to me?
Oh, yeah. I feel like you probably have a real conversation with someone today. Like, ChatGPT has the voice function. You can just have a voice conversation with ChatGPT. So like, I don't know how, I haven't tried it, so I don't know exactly how human sounding it is, but there's lots of AI text to speech to text type systems, deep fake, audio deep fakes, things like that are available today. Now, okay, so what was the first part of the question? I answered the end, but I missed the first part.
I'm only familiar with large language models, and I think as are most people as of this time.
Yeah.
Is there more to it than that? Is that just one
Yeah.
use case?
Oh yeah, large language models are one tiny fraction of AI machine learning. So I mean, like things you already talked about, like your spam filter on your Gmail account, that's been AI for a long time. Like how, like I mean, like, what are some other things you're interacting with? Like your Amazon, you recommend your systems like
Yeah.
for Amazon or Netflix, but like everything, like, Apple just released the Apple Intelligence on your phone. So now Siri is power, like Siri overall is an AI system, your Amazon Home, your Alexa, all that kind of stuff. And those are all a magnitude of different AI systems all working in collaboration with each other. But there's honestly, like, anytime a prediction is being made, an AI system can do that of some kind. So, like some of the projects that we've worked on here that are public that we can talk about is like, how do we make warehouses more efficient? How do we make delivery routes more efficient? How do they use autonomous robots in a warehouse in order to know what order to pick items in to make
Yeah.
the routing most efficient? Yeah, there's a lot of applications in supply chain and the financial sector. Fraud detection is a big one, and it's something that credit card companies are doing for a long time. But like, how do you predicting how stocks are going to do? What should your investment portfolio look like? There's lots. There's honestly, it's an endless amount of ways that AI can be applied. There's like anytime, think about any time that you might make a guess or a prediction about anything. That's a place where AI can help. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, basically what you're kind of suggesting here is that if not today, in not very long, almost every aspect of our life will have some level of AI integration.
Or at least could. Yeah. Like, I think that's definitely possible. Like, I think and I don't necessarily think that, I think that could potentially sound scary when you first hear that, but it's, again, like we talked about earlier, is about how we look at it is how can we use this as a tool to make your life better, make you more efficient, to level up your ability to do work. And so it's like whether it's weather prediction or it's route optimization on how you get to work using Google Maps, or how to plan your day better, how to write an email quicker, or I don't know. We use Gemini here, and even just being able to stream of consciousness of email and just bullet point it out, and then it'll generate a nice email for you based off of your stream of consciousness thoughts. That's really helpful because that saves you, I don't know, it saves me countless times throughout the day because I don't have to first stream of conscious, then edit, then refine. It's just I just stream of conscious and then I just review its output. Those type of things are making me more efficient. I think that's a lot of ways where when we see, when I see startups, those are the types of applications where startups, I think, are really looking at it is how do we take our workers and level them up?
Yeah.
And a huge amount of the startups that we're seeing applications for is they started small. They maybe were for example, they're in Edmonton. A complete random examples, they're in Edmonton, they're doing their deliveries in Edmonton.
Yeah.
But when you're just doing Edmonton and you have 10 drivers, Kelly can coordinate the 10 drivers and know which routes to do each day. But when you go from Edmonton to all of Canada, how many Kellys are we going to need to hire in order to do that? Versus you can build an AI system to help optimize those routes. And so you're able to expand and hit that growth a lot faster than you would if you had to physically staff up that many different positions. So it's not necessarily reducing the amount of staff that startup needs, or they're not reducing their headcount, but they can grow faster than they would have to grow their headcount going forward.
It's a force multiplier at the end of the day. So it takes one person to turn them into three.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty incredible. Pretty incredible.
And you talked about how you're leveraging it within your own business to multiply yourself. Because like you said, if you had to do all these different pieces, or you had to have a human doing all the different pieces you're doing, you might need a team of 2 or 3 other people to support you.
Easily.
Yeah.
And, and that's growing all the time with the scope of change. But the things that you can use AI for are also growing all the time. And so it's really interesting. And that was kind of one of the questions that I had for you. And I know it's funny because this show's coming out about a year later after recording it. But talk to me a little bit about what you guys are seeing at AMII. You are on the cutting edge of AI. We only see it when it becomes, commercially available. But what are some of the cool things that you're seeing that you're allowed to talk about? I know that you're not allowed to talk about all of it. Some of it is under wraps. But for what you are allowed to talk about, what's coming? What do we have coming?
Yeah, so I would say I'm not allowed to talk about things for anything other than we have NDAs with clients. So, but I can talk kind of conceptual level. So I think something that we're seeing a lot of right now is reinforcement learning as applied to process controls. And so how can we use that tool, the tool of reinforcement learning, which as a reminder is an agent is in a dynamic environment, makes a decision, gets feedback, and adjusts how it makes decisions moving forward. How can we use that in process controls for whether it's from anything like manufacturing to oil production to water treatment, those types of things? How can we leverage that tool? That's a really unique opportunity and something that we have a unique expertise in here at AMII. But another thing that we're seeing more of is we see a lot of right now is how can companies leveraging large language models in a multitude of different ways. AI agents and AI LLM agents are a very popular thing today. We'll see if they're still popular in a year. But that's something that we're seeing a lot of and a lot of interest in is kind of agentic applications of large language models to do a series of tasks or more a workflow of tasks all at once without human insight. And human insight, so it's like you can give the system a task and it's going to do a bunch of different things and then come back to you. Those are things that are really popular and kind of we're seeing kind of building right now. The large language models are a huge part of what we do and how we different companies are able to leverage it. I think it's a factor of it being in the zeitgeist right now. That's with ChatGPT being so popular and so all everywhere, people are seeing that application of it. But there's a lot of other ways that companies are leveraging AI, and it's often in ways that are very unsexy. It's ways that are very behind the scenes that like your customer would never know of. It's just like it's helping the business run more efficiently. It's helping things run smoother or faster or more efficiently. Yeah, there's a lot of really cool applications. We're working with a ton of different clients right now in terms of on the build out side. But on the startup side, we work with hundreds of startups a year, helping them see where AI can be applied to their business. A lot of those startups are coming to us not knowing where to start. Even.
Yeah.
They're like, they don't know where AI can be applied to their business. They don't know how it can look or what the different options are. And we're helping them identify those opportunities within their own business. And when we're talking to them, what I really like to start with is start with your business problem. So like a lot of our workshop for that is helping them think about where are the opportunities in their business where they're seeing a pain point. Like, is there like a roadblock? Is there a pinch point in their processes? Is there like a human, like a capital constraint on the human capital side where it's like, this is a pinch point for growth or for where we're currently at? Is there a slow process or something like those opportunities from a business side are like, those are problems that we need to solve.
Yeah.
Now, is there an AI application that can help us solve that problem? So I think that's the better approach. Like, what's the problem? Let's find the right tool to solve it rather than, we still see a lot of companies coming to us saying, hey, how do I use ChatGPT in my business? It's like, yeah, I mean, like that's maybe a good question. Maybe not, because it's like you wouldn't walk up to a construction site and say like, hey, I have a new screwdriver. What can I screw in with this? Right? Like it's the same thing, right? It's like I have there's a shiny tool available. How do I use? How can I use it? Rather than here's the problem that I have. Let's find the right tool for the problem.
It's a really interesting conundrum when you split it up between startups and existing companies, because I think on a certain level, as a startup, being able to start a company and incorporate AI from the beginning is a massive, massive advantage over having to figure out how to integrate AI into your already existing business.
I'd say yes and no, though, to be honest with you. Like, yes, it's really cool because you can build it into the DNA of your business right when you start.
Yeah.
But it's also sometimes really challenging because AI needs lots of data. And so if you're a new company, you probably don't have much data to start with. So like oftentimes like we're working with companies that even so on the startup side, like they have a product in market. They've been collecting data with from their customers. So I think it's important to, like, if I was giving advice to someone who's starting a company right now, it would be think about AI and think about how you're going to leverage AI. And if AI is going to be a fundamental piece of your business, then you need to start thinking about it right at the start. But if it's going to be something that enables you to grow and enables you like down the road, start collecting the data you need to power that AI system now, even if the system isn't going to get built for a year or 2 or 5. But if you don't have the data and in 5 years, now you're starting, like now you're 5 years behind the ball. You could be collecting the data that you need now for that eventual system in 5 years. But there's if you're leveraging large language models, you don't need as much of your own data because they've trained it. I guess it depends on like, for a large language model application, you might need a knowledge base. It might be like, a theoretical knowledge base or something else that you're helping to additionally train it on, as opposed to needing sensor readings over the course of 5 years. Which you might need for different applications.
Absolutely. I get what you're saying. I think at what stage should a company start thinking about incorporating something like a chatbot or a large language model into their systems? Is it something that companies should be doing from the very beginning? Is there a stage? Like, what is the cost of incorporating maybe a system? Let's call it to a small to medium sized company. Is it like drastic? What does this look like?
I think it honestly, like, the number one answer I think when it comes to AI is it depends. And so that's something that we say all the time is like, it really does depend, which is like maybe not the best answer, but I'd say it's probably the most honest answer I can give. So
Yeah.
like, there's definitely like, you could potentially turn around a simple chatbot for fairly inexpensive using a GPT or similar API. You can also like, if you want something though that is, and that's like for basic question and answer type things. But if you want something that's trained on like let's say on your podcast, and you want to say like, hey, can we build a chatbot that's trained on my podcast, and I can ask it questions about you know yeah how like who's talked about AI on the podcast? And then it's like, what are the different topics we talked about? How long have we talked about this? Like, oh,
Yeah.
you could really, but it's true on your podcast, that would take collecting all that data
Yep.
and then training it, probably using a what we would call a RAG system or a retrieval augmented generation system that is paired with a large language model in order to work together on that. And that application is going to be like more complex to build and more costly. And then think about like, instead of maybe one podcast, just this podcast, but what if you're training it on government of Alberta's data
Yeah.
or like Procter and Gamble's data or something? It's going to be like exponentially more expensive and exponentially harder and more difficult to do. So it the scale depends. The amount of things you want it to know and to be able to answer is going to influence the ultimate price or cost to implement it. The duration, how long, how many people are going to be required to build it.
Yeah.
It can be honestly from very cheap to almost nothing to as expensive as you want as you
Correct. Yeah.
possibly want to
Yeah.
spend. Yeah,
How nice of a Ferrari do you want?
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, no, I get it. That actually makes a lot of sense because let's get real. Even developing a website can be fairly cheap to incredibly expensive depending on
yeah.
what it is you're building and how big it is. That makes perfect sense.
And with AI, it's a lot more different. It's a lot different than like building a website. Like building a website is pretty standard. Yeah, there's different ways to do it,
Yeah.
but it's like there's a pretty understood way to do it. Just like how much time does it take? How much energy does it take to do it? Effort. With AI, a lot of the times it's like we're doing experiments.
Yeah.
Like we're trying things and we're seeing what works and what doesn't work. And whenever you're experimenting, there's no guarantee of result. We like when we're doing stuff with our clients, it's a proof of concept development. And so like that often means like I said, we're doing experiments. We don't know what the right approach is right off the start. We don't know exactly what the results are going to be. We have an idea of what it should be,
Yeah.
and we have targets that the client is aiming for. But we need to figure out what the best approach is. We need to figure out which is the right model to use. We need to know like what data should or shouldn't be used, how we should process that data, what model is needed to do that calculation. All of that is an experiment that we're doing to figure it out the right or best path.
Yeah, absolutely. I know we have a lot of companies listening right now who might be asking themselves, well, how do I know? How do I know that AI would support me with my challenge in my business, right? Because when you're coming to it and that's not your background, it's really hard to know whether or not an AI solution would be the right solution.
Yeah.
Can you maybe just give me some examples of success stories from some of the companies you worked with at AMII, and maybe that'll give people some ideas on what they could do with it?
Yeah. I think that's a really, really good point. I would say AI is not the solution for everything. Like there's a lot of solutions where it's like, yeah, if you can do it, a good solution without AI, like don't build an AI system just because you can. Like it, like you said, they can be expensive. They can take lots of time, and they require maintenance and upkeep as they're going. So when they work, they're really good, but they're not the solution for everything. It's kind of maybe my first kind of caveat there.
Okay.
This warehousing one that we did some generative warehouse design in order to make warehousing more efficient, and that like so you that's a combination of generative AI in terms of design. That's been really cool to see how that kind of rolls out to the real world. We've seen applications in, yeah, like that'd be like a supply chain application, but in medical devices in terms of detecting different conditions or providing insight on like different levels, like readings. I'm trying to be as specific as I can without going into like super duper details. It's a really cool example here in Edmonton. Is a company called, now they're called Meadow AI. So they were Meadow AI. They founded in Edmonton, and now they kind of joined with a U.S. company called Echo. So now they're called Echo, but they do machine learning on ultrasounds, and they on ultrasounds that can connect to your phone or an iPad for things like they started with infant hip dysplasia. So they're able to scan the infant's hip to determine if they're at a high risk or a low risk for hip dysplasia. Hip dysplasia is something that if it's caught in infants can be corrected while they're an infant and it stops them when they're an adult from potentially having severe arthritis in their hips and
Wow.
potentially needing early hip replacement. So this is something that like has been screened in large urban centers for a long time because they have the devices and the capability to do it. But when you're able to then pair that machine learning tool with a device that is able to be again attached to a phone, then you can take it to rural communities a lot easier and scan way more people around the world
Yeah.
and stop that condition in a way that has a real impact on the world and on people in rural and indigenous communities, across Canada in a way that is it's having a real impact on people's lives.
Yeah.
And it allows also like, so both my kids have been scanned with that device at our
Wow.
doctor's office. It's so cool. The first time we went to get my daughter and I was like, I know those people. Like I know the people that made this tool. And it was so cool seeing it. And it's so easy. Like the nurse who maybe doesn't even normally wouldn't have the training to do this test. You might have to go to a specialist to do it. And now the nurse at our doctor's office is able to do this test. And so like things like that are really cool applications
Wow.
that we've seen. But like I said, with a lot of the startups, the best application, I think the most common ones are things around how do we take this process that is working manually up until our point of scale that is going to start breaking down. So what are those processes that start breaking down as you're scaling that an AI system can be used for instead of a manual process? That's kind of where I've seen a lot of the most success with our startup community. But there's so many different ways that can be applied, whether it's scheduling or routing or validating like validating invoices or building invoices or there's so many different ways that there's so many manual processes in a business
Yeah.
that when you're 10 people looking at this geographical region, you just do it.
Yeah.
When you're growing to be like 500 people across a country, those processes break down.
Yeah.
I think that's where I've seen startups have the most success.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense because especially if you have to train up an entirely other group of people in the next city, when potentially you could just train up an AI-based system and teach everybody how to operate that, you're going to have a lot less errors, a lot less challenges, and things are going to flow smoother. It makes a ton of sense. Okay, if people are listening right now and they need support, this is something that AMII can help with, and not just in Canada. Can we chat about that?
Yeah. So we work with companies all around the world. And so no matter where you are right now listening, like if you want to learn more about how we can help you, reach out. AMII.ca is our website. We're based in Edmonton, Alberta, here in Canada. But like I said, we work with companies all around the world. Be happy to chat with you. We have an intake form on our website. But if you fill that out, someone from our team will get in contact with you, set up get some more information from you, see if we have a program to support you, how we can best support you. On the startup side, we have free programming for Canadian startups. So that is either through our machine learning exploration program, which is to help sort of see where AI can be applied to their business, or through our level up program, which is for AI startups, startups that are already using AI in their product, to provide them ongoing coaching and support as they scale. Again, those are free programs for Canadian startups, application based, but free if you get in.
Yeah.
But all of our other programming is a fee for service model, and we're happy to work with companies all around the world.
Amazing. And Adam, if people want to get a hold of you, do they just go to the AMII website directly, or should they follow you on LinkedIn? What's the best way to do so?
Yeah, feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. Going to the AMII website is probably the best and easiest way to get a hold of me, though, if you're looking to get a hold of me personally.
Amazing. Dude, this has been incredible. Thank you so much for helping us with the Alberta Ecosystem Series. Like I said, we're incredibly fortunate to live in Alberta. We probably have some of the best entrepreneurial supports in the world, but sometimes they're really hard to understand. So having this conversation, letting people know what you can do, how you can help them, AMII is massively beneficial. And thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate having the opportunity to come back here again and have I don't remember exactly what we talked about last time, but I feel like it was a similar but maybe slightly different conversation.
It always is.
But
But I'll tell you what, in my experience, round two is almost always better, and I can pretty much guarantee you we had a better. this time anyway.
Well, you get the kind of the first conversation jitters off. We know each other a little bit better now, right? So yeah,
Exactly.
no, it's good. I appreciate it too, and it's always it's been a pleasure chatting with you both times, and I'm excited to I'm always excited to talk about AI and talk about AMII. It's a great place to work, and there's really cool things happening here. And I love working with startups and working with different companies as well, and helping them grow and helping them be the best they can be.
Amazing. Well, you continue doing that, and I'm sure lots of people hear this and reach out. So thanks for your help, Adam. Thanks for what you do, and we'll chat soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Until next time, you've been listening to the Business Development Podcast, and we will catch you on the flip side.
This has been the Business Development Podcast with Kelly Kennedy. Kelly has 15 years in sales and business development experience within the Alberta oil and gas industry and founded his own business development firm in 2020. His passion and his specialization is in customer relationship generation and business development. The show is brought to you by Capital Business Development, your business development specialists. For more, we invite you to the website at www.capitalbd.ca. See you next time on the Business Development Podcast.